Welcome to the Mobile Armored Podcast Show, the podcast that transforms into a hay baler. My name is Adam Moore, alongside my co-host and best friend, PJ McNerney. How's it going today, PJ?
I'm doing well. One interesting thing as a meta commentary, the last few episodes have been spending a lot of time in Europe. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because like they're all clustered together. It's also interesting because a lot of the times like Gloria shows up for them. So I don't know what her travel schedule has been because like she's been like coming out to meet up with her husband and then flying back unless she's got like some appointment like we see today.
Well, she has a very important appointment today. Look, let's dive into the episode because there's so much to get into here. It's episode 36, the Lipizzaner mystery. V.E.N.O.M steals the famous Lipizzaner Stallions, where an Arab purchases them for $4 million. But masked team member Dusty Hayes foils their heist.
Few things on the tagline already. I love how like we have just culturally scrubbed away like anything except for he's an Arab.
He's definitely Saudi or from the Emirates. Or
they make it very clear like he's a man of great wealth. Also, Dusty doesn't actually foil their heist. So
no, he does.
I want to point out, like, who's ever reading these taglines, I think they watch 5 minutes of the episode, maybe. Because an AI would do a better job than this.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we open on external shots of Vienna, and then we're inside a stately arena where an audience is watching a soldier in, like, an old-timey uniform riding a white horse who can do some tricks. So I actually did some research here.
Ooh!
So we will go to Horse Corner. So the Lipizzaner is a European breed of riding horse developed in the Habsburg Empire in the 16th century. Huh. Yeah, it's powerful, slow to mature, long-lived. The name of the breed derives from that of a village of Lipica. Some fun facts for you, PJ. The breed has been endangered numerous times by warfare sweeping Europe, including during the War of the First Coalition, World War I, and World War II. And there's a Disney movie called Miracle of the White Stallions about the rescue of those horses during World War II by American troops. Which I wonder if that's true or not.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would be curious to see the veracity of the Miracle of the White Stallions. On one hand, I think it's great. On the other hand, do you wonder about the nearby villages that were not saved because they were saving these horses?
Yeah. It's like a little bit of Saving Private Ryan.
We've got to save the horses. They're from a noble family whose empire spanned Europe
400 years ago.
I'm not against saving horses. I want to be really clear. Horses are wonderful, wonderful animals. Like, you know, I'm curious about a horse that has been very specifically bred and trained in probably the most brutal conditions to perform tricks for royalty.
Exactly. Speaking of the tricks, this is classical dressage, which includes the highly controlled, stylized jumps and other movements known as the airs above the ground. Dates back hundreds of years. So that's who the Lipizzaner Stallions are. I don't know how many 8-year-olds watching the show knew who they were or knew their significance. We were basically watching it being like, why does this guy wearing like a toga want to buy horses for $4 million?
Yeah, we're going to get into that at Economics Corner, too.
Okay. We find Matt and Matt's favorite travel companion, no, not Gloria, Dusty Hayes. They're there watching the performance. They're inside this it's very upscale. There's no reason to question why Matt is there. I am a little concerned because Dusty's just wearing a T-shirt while Matt's wearing his suit. It seems like he probably could have dressed up a little bit, maybe worn his T-shirt with a tie on it. But one thing I want to point out, though, if you notice in the background, PJ, some of the members of the iconic 80s band Flock of Seagulls are in attendance. Did you notice them in the back?
I did notice that. Thank you for the screenshot for that, because I think I would have missed it otherwise. It's strange because they're all dressed pretty haphazardly. Like, so I agree a suit would be appropriate, but like It's almost like this is the miscellaneous box because there's like a dude in what looks like an old surgeon's outfit on the right side of the screen. And it's like Flock of Seagulls guys are just clearly like, hey, we're Flock of... Maybe they're playing a concert there.
Notice also that only Matt and Scott have seats and everyone else is forced to stand.
I think T-Bob has a seat as well. So it's like the billionaire, his boy, and his boy's robot. Everyone else must stand. I had a question for you. Is Dusty, like, I feel like it splits hairs here. Is he actually the favorite travel companion, or is it Bruce?
He has been of late.
Yeah, that's true.
He definitely has been of late. I mean, it used to be Bruce, but maybe there's been a falling out because we've seen Dusty a lot more.
Bruce is still pining over Vanessa, so.
Yeah. Turns out that this is a special performance of the Stallions in honor of the Emir of... I listened to it a bunch of times. It sounded like the Emir of Amra. What did you hear?
You know, honestly, it was just like made up Middle Eastern country in the 80s. I mean, it's not as bad as one that legitimately appeared in the Transformers show. You know that one, right?
What was it called?
Karbamya. Legitimately, look, I'm not making this shit up. This basically was like in the Transformers show, and it's like, how the fuck did that get past the censors?
Yeah.
So they didn't go that far.
But anyways, it's quite clear just based on what he's wearing, he is not of the House of Saud. It doesn't actually matter where he's from, honestly.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Scott has T-Bob's head open and has turned him into a popcorn machine. So this is a Roy Batty nominee for sure. And this episode has so many Roy Batty moments. And T-Bob does go quite mad, by the way, but at the end of this episode. So maybe we finally crossed the line, but it's crazy.
Yeah, so he's turned him into a popcorn holder, technically. And, you know, we've seen this whole, like, food storage compartment before. Yeah. But my question to you, Adam, like, once again, has Scott cleaned out the spaghetti and meatballs from the Italian episode, the pizza from the Italian episode, or the panda poo from the panda episode?
Yeah. How many 10-year-olds do you know cleaned out their robot in between storing food in it?
None, unless he like tried to take a hose to him. And T-Bob's response is actually pretty on target. He's like, I've got over 1 million logic and motivation circuits. And what does he use me for? A popcorn box. To which Scott's like, I wonder if I could turn you into a popcorn popper.
Suddenly a bright light flashes and all the horses go wild, bucking their riders, and like their eyes turn into this like scary purple color.
It's scary.
Now the horses turn on their masters and decide to go charging toward a group of people who are for some reason sitting in the actual arena. I guess the cheap seats. Like there's a waiver you have to sign. By sitting here, you may be impacted by horse droppings or stampedes. Well, a young boy is in danger. And so Dusty actually leaps down from his second-story balcony seat, lands on a horse, and guides it away from the child. And like the other horses follow the leader there. Really badass.
It really is.
Did you notice that Matt and Scott also jump off the balcony to go and check on Dusty?
I did. After the horses were well out of the arena.
Yeah.
Like, they jumped down when the danger had passed. And regarding that young boy, did you notice that? So the boy is like in the center of the stage. Everyone else is evacuating, including his mom.
Yeah.
Who turns around and is like, oh my God, my son. My question to you was, does this woman like attend the same classes as Matt Trakker in terms of just child abandonment?
Yeah, she read Matt's book.
Hotels Are Great by Matt Trakker.
Hotel rooms, your new babysitter. So they're following these horse tracks and they lead to a dead end. And it's like the horses have just disappeared. Now, later on outside, the Emir thanks Dusty for stopping the stampede. And Dusty's line is this: "Aw shucks, I ain't had so much fun since the hogs ate Uncle George." And I listened to it 3 times to ensure I was right. I heard it no other way than the hogs ate Uncle George. So let's unpack this a little bit. A, the hogs ate Uncle George, and B, it was fun?
Yeah, I had the same thought, and I came up with 4 scenarios. Okay. We're going to go from best case to worst case, okay? Best case scenario was Uncle George was some sort of straw person effigy
Okay.
of a member of the family that was then fed to the hogs. Okay. Like they just called it Uncle George because he was the black sheep or something like that. And that was just what they did. Still disturbing. Okay. The next best case scenario, Uncle George was the name of some animal that upon death was then fed to the hogs. Also disturbing. Okay. Yeah. Worst case scenarios. Dusty belongs to a very small religious cult that requires their dead to be consumed by hogs after they die. Very disturbing.
Yeah.
However, the most problematic is the same idea, except Uncle George wasn't dead yet.
I think really any of them are valid, but here's what I keep coming back to. How are any of these fun? I mean, oh shucks, I ain't had so much fun since the hogs ate Uncle George. Like, none of this sounds fun unless Buddy has a real problem.
There should have been some question, at least from Matt. Like, what do you mean? I don't want to stray too far into Buddy Hawk's territory, but I think it's not too far of a stretch to presume that the Emir, who will be referred to as an Arabian repeatedly, like presumably would be of the Muslim faith. And wouldn't it be like insulting in some way, shape, or form to say that someone was eaten by a hog because they're considered unclean animals? I mean, it just, especially to an Emir, it feels like a really, really weird thing to say.
The Emir doesn't seem super pleased after Dusty reveals his funny story about pigs eating his uncle.
I mean, and honestly, he's got the best reaction you can to anyone who would actually hear that. Like, he doesn't know what to do with it, so he's going to kind of move on.
The Emir says it is a shame. Myself, I would have given my entire fortune for just one of those beautiful Lipizaners.
My thought was basically then you'd have a horse and no money, and then you'd have to eat your just expensive horse. Like, that's a weird statement.
Yeah, but I agree. And I just want to set it up one more time here, that here's how the cut goes. The Emir says, I would give my entire fortune for one of those beautiful horses, basically. He's rich, Matt's rich. The immediate cut is the Thunderhawk racing down the road. Yeah. Like, Matt does not mess around when someone is willing to pay a fortune for something.
Someone say fortune? Yeah, he is speeding dangerously right now.
Well, they're riding there in Thunderhawk, and Scott mentions the secret popcorn compartment that he built into T-Bob, which causes Matt to have a brainstorm, and he slams on the brakes, which causes T-Bob to go flying into the front seat. Like, clearly no seatbelt for T-Bob. I feel this is another Roy Batty nomination as well.
100% another Roy Batty. Few things here. T-Bob should be wearing a seatbelt, so that's negligent on Matt's part. Matt should not be driving that fast.
First of all, speed limits do not apply to Matt Trakker, no matter what country you're in. But two, if you're driving a Camaro, you can't drive that thing slow. What do you want to do, drive 55 miles an hour in an IROC Z?
Okay, but even with that, Matt shouldn't be stopping that short. We're talking about 10 horses here, Matt. Not some infection your scientists came up with in a lab in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, this has happened before where he gets interested in an unusual situation, which is, his thing. But also, someone has placed a massive value on these horses. The Emir, his entire fortune, this guy's a billionaire. So that's what actually has Matt's, gears turning in his head. Wait a minute. So these horses are worth a fortune to this Emir? They must be valuable. I should figure out where they went because they're worth billions of dollars to this man. If they were just horses, he wouldn't care, would he?
No, these are all excellent points. It repeatedly puts Matt into the worst light possible, but it fits. I mean, look, it all tracks with what we know about Mr. Trakker.
Yeah, it really does.
Don't mess with his shit, and he's in it for the money.
Yep. Well, he has the computer pull up the architectural drawings of the Palace of Vienna, and it turns out an emergency passage was built in the 1800s in case of civil unrest. Big enough for Emperor Franz Joseph to escape in a carriage with a team of horses. And I just felt that Matt could relate to that.
I really love this comment by you. It's like Matt's underground train is there in case the people turn against him.
Sure.
And then he's going to hole up in Boulder Hill to like take down the masses that try to assault him.
If he was ever discovered as the leader of Mask, it wouldn't just be Venom coming after him. There are so many people in the world. From people whose property has just been straight up damaged to, I would sure, many governments, treaties, and borders he's violated as the leader. They're all coming after him. So
Yeah.
I'd say that's another reason why Boulder Hill is basically a fortress.
Smart move.
Yeah. Scott is sent back to the hotel as usual, but it's actually a fun exchange. Scott says they never get into any trouble, but T-Bob points out the elephants in Singapore and the Eiffel Tower from 2 episodes ago, and I thought it was like really good callbacks.
Yeah, I thought this is worth taking a beat on a couple different. I mean, these are all episodic. They're cartoon episodes. We don't get a lot of continuity these episodes except what you and I impose on him.
Yeah.
Hurricane is the most notable example, and it's the first time for that callback for something for Scott. I will note, though, in both of those examples, Scott got in trouble in Singapore because his dad said, go tour Singapore, and basically just abandoned him to his own devices. Matt also told Scott, go to the Eiffel Tower, that'll be safe. And then they had the battle there. So I think Scott could have pushed the issue that they don't get into trouble, but trouble just kind of finds them because they're abandoned.
Point accepted.
T-Bob's pissed at this point in time.
T-Bob is looming over Scott, who is back against the door in Thunderhawk. I mean, this is the last thing Scott sees before his creation strangles him to death.
Yeah, his line back to T-Bob is pretty hilarious, which is, that wasn't trouble, that was fun. and again, nearly trampled to death by elephants and hanging off the Eiffel Tower telling his father to go after Venom.
Yeah, and T-Bob's line is, let me show you how I have fun, Scott, as he wraps his little robotic mittens around Scott's neck.
I feel like Scott has lived so close to death that he doesn't actually recognize real danger, like the one in front of him, which is proof to me that no matter what you say, like Gloria has taken Scott under her wing. She may not be the mom you want, but she's the present mom that's there.
Exactly. We cut to Matt and Dusty. They are investigating the tunnel inside the palace where the horses disappeared. Matt finds a ring on the wall. Kind of looks like something you might tie a horse to. He turns it, revealing a secret passageway. And Dusty asks him, how'd you know that? And for me, once again, Matt can relate. He knows exactly how secret passageway to escape from civil unrest is accessed.
Or for unusual situations.
Exactly.
I really enjoy how, like, no matter where they go, Matt's like, come have fun, but make sure you bring your work clothes with you.
Right?
Because they're in full uniform regalia.
They are. Matt finds a tripwire, which is programmed to make the ceiling fall down if anyone tripped it. And once again, Matt can relate. Well, they also find a sonic transmitter, and the computer tells Matt that it was stolen by Venom. And this has become a reoccurring trend. The computer is constantly withholding information from Matt. Like, just the sonic transmitter was stolen by Venom. Computer, just be a little proactive.
So, the kindest thing I can think of, which puts me in the Writer Defense Award, Venom steals so much stuff that most of it isn't actually worth talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, does Matt really want to get a notification about the latest shithole that they're living in? Yeah. No. Like, I think he's just turned down the notification setting on his computer.
Well, speaking of Venom, we cut to Miles in the beautiful Austrian countryside where they are storing the horses. Sly is gathering hay to feed them. And Miles says to Sly, finally find a job to suit your talents? Wow, Miles.
Why does he hate his people so much? And Sly's there. Like, Sly's actually showed up. Like, Vanessa and Cliff are gone at this point. I didn't even know they were in the episode till later on.
Now, a helicopter arrives, and the Emir shows up. And the Emir offers $1 million for the horses, but Miles changes the agreement. It's now $1 million for stealing them, another $4 million to deliver them to the dock. And, you know, Miles is dangerous, but also I really wouldn't threaten a Saudi oil billionaire. But okay, you do you, Miles.
I agree. Like, this was a moment in the episode where I feel like Miles thought he was Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, saying, I am altering the deal. Pray do not alter it any further.
Right.
When in reality, Emir, or the Emir basically, is Darth Vader, and Miles is an Ugnaught. He's one of the guys shifting trash. And I don't think he really understands how much danger he is in.
No, the oil billionaire could disappear him.
Yes.
Pretty quickly. Amazingly, the Emir agrees to the deal. Even when Miles insists that the $5 million be paid in platinum bars. Like, why does he want it paid in platinum bars?
I took it this way. The Emir has too many deals going on. So this is all small change for him. And he's like, fuck it. I don't care. Like, get me the fucking horses. And he just carries platinum bars with him just because.
I guess.
This is worthwhile to go to Economics Corner for a second, because I was trying to, like, figure this one out. It's like, because when he says the whole thing, when one purchases perfection, one does not quibble over the price. And I got really curious, like, how much does a Lipizzaner cost? And when I looked it up online, at least in modern dollars, it's like $20,000 per horse. Maybe that means it's a total of $200,000 for 10 horses. And in 1985 dollars, that's about $70,000 max for all 10 horses. So let's say you were off by 10. Let's say I'm off by 10x at this point in time. We're talking $700,000 just to buy them legitimately. Either basically there's some sort of vendetta, or the Emir just does no research. He does not care.
Or, just likes the adrenaline.
He's bored with his money. It's like, let's steal him.
Yep. Matt and Dusty show up. They discover Venom's hiding spot. And, so he sees this helicopter taking off, right? And there's an emblem on it that Matt says, that emblem, I've seen it before. And it kind of looks like it's like a scorpion, right?
Yeah, it's a scorpion. This will all become very important soon.
Okay. Matt goes into the barn. Slice is kind of sitting on the ground.
I think he's kind of exhausted. Like, he's been doing physical labor, and he's taking shit for Miles. So he's like trying to take a break and maybe recollect his thoughts.
Yeah.
What am I doing with my life?
Yeah, and Matt is coming from, like, behind him. It's actually kind of scary.
Yeah, he looks like he's about to choke out Sly. Like, his hands are, like, up. And my first thought was, look, if you wanted to take care of this for good, isn't this a good time for Spectrum Laser?
Yeah. Well, suddenly, Switchblade appears from inside a giant pile of hay, and it opens fire on Matt, which leads us into the mid-episode Mask Venom battle. Dusty hits Switchblade with the electric ouch, which does nothing, apparently. And then Switchblade turns around, opens fire on Gator. Dusty does some fancy driving, but ends up crashing into a fallen tree. Now, Matt confronts Sly in the horse paddock, and Sly suddenly has his stiletto mask on. How did he let Sly put the mask on?
I didn't know. I mean, I felt maybe it was like, Sly had it in the paddock with the horses, and Matt was just, basically distracted by what Miles was doing with Dusty. Also, like, it's worthwhile to note, Sly's going in for the kill here with Stiletto. And Matt's got to do some fancy kind of like flips to get away.
Well, both he and Miles are really going for the kill.
Yeah.
They're not firing warning shots. Like, they want to kill these people. Now, Sly gets kicked by a horse, sending him flying out of the paddock. So this is not a normal horse, which just kind of kicks you and you get hurt really badly and fall down. Like, he flies a good 100 yards. So he is certainly getting nominated for his own award here.
Totally.
Now, Matt sees Dusty struggling inside a tree. Matt goes running after him. Switchblade opens fire, sending Matt flying through the air onto a conveyor belt that's leading to a hay baler. Matt should be dead.
Yeah, I didn't know how they were going to top a Slyrax, and they did, because the ground explodes underneath Matt.
Yep.
He goes flying through the air, does a 180 twist in the air, and then lands solidly on his spine on that hay baler.
Right.
So his back is now broken. Best case scenario.
Venom escapes with the horses. Dusty is trapped under the tree. Matt is about to get churned through the hay baler. Leads me to wonder what's going to happen.
I don't know.
We've got him in sight. Hold on, Mask will be right back. Now watch what Mask does.
We're back. When we left you, we watched as Matt Trakker was churned through a hay baler. It chopped him into pieces. There's all sorts of limbs and feet and pieces of the mask and various bales of hay. It's very morbid, but Dusty vows to go on without him.
Well, in respect, he's going to feed Matt's remains to the hogs, because that is what's required by his cult.
At least it'll be fun for him. And he explains it to Scott. You should have been there, Scott. It was real fun.
Now, afterwards, we're going to sacrifice the hog and eat it. So Matt's power will flow down into you, just like Uncle George's power has flown into me.
Sadly, that's not what happens. Or happily. Whatever side of the fence you're on, it's either happy or sad. What happens, actually, is that Dusty ejects Gator in boat mode, skids across the ground, knocks like the hay baler out of the way, and catches Matt in the seat. So this is like a second pretty badass move from Dusty in this episode.
Yeah, it really was. Dusty's on point this episode. Like, yeah. I mean, when it's calls for it, like he's there. Also a great use of the kind of the mechanics of the vehicle, because like it's exactly what we would be doing to have fun with it. I had this thought that Dusty knows that he has to save Matt, because if he doesn't, Gloria will do something far worse to him. Yep. Like this is under duress and threat. When Gator gets there, Matt's falling off the baler, and I have to believe his back is broken again, because that's a 10-foot drop right onto his spine again.
Yeah, in Gator, which is not like the most comfortable vehicle.
Right. And I felt like also like there was no reason for Dusty to then kind of like, he's not going to fall out of Gator at that point in time. So I was like, Dusty's getting a little handsy here. He
does. He reaches around Matt's waist, sizing him up for the hogs.
Oh, you're still alive. Oh well.
But yeah, surprise, surprise, Matt's alive. So how about that? Meanwhile, Scott is back at the hotel, and he's tinkering around with T-Bob. And he says, room service ought to be here any minute with more popcorn. And T-Bob expressly says, but I don't want to be a popcorn popper. Roy Batty's nominees all over this episode.
Yeah, Scott asks him, where's your spirit of adventure? And my question in this case was, what adventure, Scott? You're going to cause him to get unnaturally hot and screw up his circuits.
Yeah. And then on top of that, making matters worse, Scott makes an adjustment that causes T-Bob to get stuck in scooter mode and go racing around the room.
Yes.
Now the room service guy shows up, and when he does, T-Bob bursts through the door and starts like speeding down the hallway. T-Bob's a mess right now, but it actually ties into the episode. So credit to the writer here, because T-Bob crashes into the Emir who's coming out of his hotel room. Just goes to show you that Matt stays at excellent hotels. If it's good enough for the Emir, it's good enough for the Trakker family. But this crash causes all the platinum bars to fall out of the Emir's suitcase. And Scott sees this, and then he sees a photo of the Lipizzaner horses, and it starts piecing things together on his own.
Okay, I want to do an economics corner check here for a second, which is almost borders on science corner. But
okay,
platinum weighs more than gold. And we talked a few episodes back about the suitcase of gold bars weighing somewhere north of 300 pounds. So for 400 million in platinum, I did the math, and $85. So it's going to be about 31 bars of platinum, which comes out to 839 pounds. So that suitcase is on wheels, but the Emir's men are juicing.
That's the thing. It's on wheels, so that at least has some plausibility.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, though, later on, as we find out what happens to those sets of platinum bars.
Yeah. Scott calls Matt to sort of update him on the information. He tells Matt about... I'll say what the line of dialogue is. He tells Matt, a little while ago, I saw some Arabian men with platinum bars. And Matt says, an Arabian, kind of ... And then it's followed by multiple shots of the Emir, like as Matt is remembering him. Now, if you remember, everyone, last episode, PJ made a bet with me. He bet there'd be 2 words and then a series of shots. Is this what you were betting me on?
Yes, this is what I was betting you on, because I wanted to unpack this pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, I think it's actually kind of remarkable and shows his privilege that Scott knows what platinum bars look like.
Yeah.
Okay. I would guess it would be silver, but no, Scott knows enough to differentiate between silver and platinum bars.
Yeah.
And Scott has seen that this guy has a picture of a horse, which just could be a postcard. Okay. So I want us to understand the evidence that Scott has and Matt has at this particular point in time in this episode. Also, apparently Scott has been trained by Matt to be suspicious of Arabian men.
Yeah.
Because Scott's then therefore trained to use circumstantial evidence to convict.
Which is what Matt has trained the mask computer to do as well.
Correct. So Matt's face with the platinum bars, he looks pissed. And then he goes into this like thought pattern of like an Arabian. And then like they do this like music and Matt's face lights up in realization where it's first his face. He remembers the emblem on the side of the helicopter. Then they see the flag with the same emblem on it. And then 3 shots of the Emir of increasing suspicion each time. Okay. And then Dusty has to shake Matt from his trance saying, Matt, what's wrong? And Matt's conclusion is this: Emir. Venom is trading with Emir. So here's my deal, man. I don't want to live in the world where Matt's legal framework operates. Because apparently circumstantial evidence is enough to prosecute his case against anyone.
Yeah. Sure.
Now, if there'd been something about Matt hearing that the buyer was using platinum bars for their purchase, maybe I'd be okay with trying to do this connection. But as far as I can tell, Matt is going after the Emir because he is, in his words, an Arabian. And Dusty supplants this with his next line. You're right. He's Arabian, and he also wanted those horses. So, Dusty, your proof here is Emir wanted those horses, and he's Arabian. That is the proof you guys are offering up to us. So how fucked up is that to give to kids? And Matt said, I should have known when I saw the emblem on that chopper. Because clearly a court case would not be trying to introduce any notion that the chopper was potentially stolen. So this, Adam, is like, we're going to come back to this when we get back to the Buddy Hawks Award, but it's pretty dramatic in terms of what we know and what Matt has jumped to.
As part of all this, we learn that the Emir is leaving on his like oil tanker that night. So I just want to point out that the Emir travels around in his crude oil tanker, like not a private jet. He just sails around in a mega ship filled with crude oil.
Which no one did research because if we recall, I had to like check this. Like Vienna is technically not landlocked. Like the Danube runs through it.
Yeah, but can an oil tanker fit on the Danube?
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about an oil tanker sitting on the Danube, like just kind of rolling through.
Yeah, no, the type of thing that would get caught in the Suez Canal can easily make its way up the Danube. Guess what we have? A late episode agent selection scene. So first up, Gloria Baker, champion race driver, black belt in Kung Fu, team hottie, and Matt's wife. She's at the dentist. The alarm goes off and she takes a girl's teddy bear and puts it in her place. But the dentist kind of turns around and goes to like continue what he was doing for a few solid moments before realizing it's a teddy bear. And I worry that she's not seeing the best dentist in town.
Yeah, I wonder if he had like vision problems, which I agree is not what you want in a dentist, basically, if you have to be that close to realize that a teddy bear is not a human. Did you notice that she's rocking the purple hair and pink lipstick? Like it's kind of a different look for her.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like Gem and the Holograms going on.
I, for one, am glad that Matt's wife's coming to Vienna, but I had a question. Given that we've established there's only the Danube that's there, is having a vehicle whose primary transformation is for water like a good idea?
I agree. You know, last episode they did a really good job of choosing the right vehicles for the episode. This one, they just chose vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I love it when Gloria shows up. I mean, because she's awesome.
I'm sure Matt enjoys it too.
Mm-hmm.
Second up is Buddy Hawks. So Buddy is really dressed up. I thought he was in disguise, and maybe he is. Because he's wearing like a kind of like an old Newsies cap and a suit that matches. He's holding like a bouquet of roses. kind of waiting for a date, as we find out, because she comes running. This blonde wearing a pink dress comes running up. He gets the call. He runs towards her, hands her the flowers, and then runs away. Not even a, hey, sorry, something came up. Nothing. Just take the flowers, and he runs. Like, wow, man. All right.
Yeah. To me, you could have done this with like as some sort of French movie, and it would have fit. I think we've actually seen this one before. Like, I think we have. I feel like we've seen this. But I love the idea that he's doing it to the same person twice. Like, this is like, he like had to fight really hard to like get back. Like, oh no, listen, Belinda, I'm going to show up this time. And this is like his one true chance at love. And then he's got to just basically ditch her again.
I'm curious where he's meeting her. Just as I look at the frames, it looks like she's running past a liquor store. And when you look at the shot where he hands her the flowers and runs off, it's clearly like some sort of hardware store because it says power tools in the window. Where's he taking her on a date? I want to get myself a new bandsaw, and I thought maybe you could come and check it out with me. Look, if she's into it, then he has found his soulmate.
Not this time, apparently.
We cut to the masked jet in flight.
It is a cool set of shots we get of the jet.
The jet's cool. It's really rocking. So we cut to the harbor, which seems like it's big enough for a handful of shipping containers, vessels, and oil tankers and that sort of thing. But for my research, I can't find any location in Vienna that has that kind of harbor or shipyards to support those kind of vessels. Like, did you find anything?
No, I mean, this was clearly the writers did no research again. Yep. I mean, you'd really have to kind of make the claim that they're doing this like in the Black Sea or something like that.
Okay. Like I said, we do cut to these shipyards. Sly and Cliff deliver the horses to the Emir's ship. So Cliff is here. And by the way, Vanessa shows up too.
Yeah, what the hell were they doing?
Just hanging out on the ship the whole time, I guess. I don't know.
I think Cliff was at another artist retreat, and Vanessa just wanted some time to herself, some me time in Vienna.
A lot of good shopping in Vienna. The Emir connects with Miles and says, "Very good, Mr. Mayhem. I see for sufficient money, you will even keep your word." And Mayhem says, "For sufficient money, I'll even deal with you."
I was like, whoa. I was like, hard for me not to see this as a Buddy Hawks nom at this point. I was like,
oh, completely. The Emir says, "As we agreed, $4 million in platinum bars. Would you like to count it?" And Miles says, "It should all be here." The Emir's response, "There is honor among thieves." Cliff gets totally offended by this. He says, "Who's he calling a thief?" And he gets ready to fire torch at the guy when Miles tells him basically like calm down or else they're going to set the straw and the stalls on fire.
So here's a couple things. I was like, Cliff, you're a terrorist. You've murdered people. Why are you taking such umbrage to being called a thief? Right. Unless you're racist as well. Like he's just fixing for an excuse.
Mask shows up. Buddy's on the balcony wearing his penetrator mask. Vanessa uses Whip to capture him. But Buddy uses Penetrator to phase himself out of Whip's grip.
I thought it was fun. Fun use of powers we're getting here. You know, like, again, say what you will, they're playing into it. You know, we've gotten Whip at this point in time. We've gotten a Penetrator. And we'll get a few more before the episode's done.
Gloria shows up in front of the Emir and his men and asks, "Going somewhere?" And the henchmen pull out like two of their long knives. But Gloria knocks the Emir and his henchmen out of commission using aura. So another fun use of the powers there. And here's another one. Matt uses Spectrum Ultrasonics to spook the horses and cause them to run out of the ship. Dusty jumps onto the lead horse and guides them all into a waiting truck.
I thought this was going to fuck the horses up, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's really talked about how much that's like you've just spooked them again and traumatized them, but fine.
So Miles is escaping in Switchblade with the platinum. Thunderhawk takes to the sky, and Matt says, "Do unto others. Let's see how you like being forced down." He fires at Switchblade and blows the canopy off. Great shot, Matt.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, they shattered the glass. But I had a question, man. What's up with Matt's threatening quote here?
Yeah.
Because he's misremembering it pretty badly. My thing is this. If you're going to threaten someone, I recommend not using a quote of Jesus and then misusing it. Because, like, it's like, do unto others. I mean, I'm not sure what Bible he's reading, but it's like, do unto others. And it's like, wait. Did you not know it's about forgiveness, Matt? Right. No, I'm going to just do this unto others.
It's so true. Do unto others unless they fire at your transforming car, in which case, blow them out of the sky. That's in one of the more modern translations of the Bible, I think.
Maybe that's the one Matt had commissioned.
The Trakker translation?
The Trakker translation.
Well, Switchblade actually explodes in midair, and Miles goes falling to his doom, gripping the suitcase full of platinum bars. He splashes into the water. He's underwater. He's struggling to swim to the surface, carrying this heavy case. And I think he's already dead as it is. Like that's a Slyrax right there.
Yes.
On top of it, though, Shark appears, fires 2 missiles at Miles, causing the suitcase to open and sending all the platinum bars to the bottom of the ocean. I think this is what I'd call a platinum Slyrax nomination.
Look, the fall alone would have killed him. The platinum would have drug him under. Like, we're talking about 800 pounds.
Yeah.
And he's shot at by torpedoes underwater.
Right.
Okay. Rest in peace, Miles.
We'll see you next episode. Sly, Vanessa, and Cliff all kind of hop on to Piranha's sidecar submarine, which drives on the surface to go out and pick up Miles. Is that thing really seaworthy with that many people on it?
Who cares at this point in time, man?
Yeah.
Like, it's the Danube, you know? I don't expect against that many high winds.
I guess they just chug off in their little submarine.
They're all chugging off probably way slower than normal.
Yeah.
Like, because it's normally only holds 1. It has 4 on it.
Yeah. And Gloria says, I could go after them. And Matt says, no. And then he says something about they'll join up with the others by the time we catch them. What is he talking about?
I was like, what is he? Yeah, I was like, what the fuck, Matt? I mean,
what?
Do you think there's another Venom sub in the Danube?
Yeah, what others? It's the whole entire Venom team that we've known so far. And then to your point earlier, Piranha is going at a quarter speed. I mean, you could swim and catch them.
Right.
The answer is nope. In fact, then he says, besides, we've got the real culprit, referring to the Emir. But is he the real culprit? Venom did all the hard work.
Yeah. And in fact, we get a line from Buddy right after this as well that they try to cement it.
Yeah, Buddy says, I don't know how the Emir is going to explain to the Austrian police how all those Lipizaners got on his ship.
And I was like, very easily, Buddy. How about this? Venom stole the horses. That's true. Venom stole my platinum, which is now at the bottom of the Danube, thanks to you guys. And you could just say Venom was about to steal my ship. So, like, it's actually really easy to blame the terrorist organization for all this stuff. Besides the fact you never had anything concrete beyond circumstantial evidence and racism.
Indeed.
And here's the other deal. Like, let's say they could get him on something, right? If the Emir is not already cozy with the Austrian government, look, some money will exchange hands and it'll be fine.
Well, but anyways, that's that for the case. Matt and company arrive at the hotel, and they're in the lobby, and the place is completely destroyed. There's a shot of Matt with, like, one eye closed. It's, like, very odd. I mean, is he okay?
I don't know, man. Like, this was a weird choice. It's like, I hope he's not having a stroke or something like that. My thought on this basically was, like, he's not perturbed because I would imagine he owns that hotel.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. He definitely owns the hotel. And we have this like exchange between Buddy and Gloria. Buddy says, you know, it might be less trouble if he came with us next time. And Gloria says, in fact, we might even have less trouble if we let him join Venom. Like, well, Gloria, way to get your stepkid out of the picture. And Scott loves this. He's like, we could work undercover. And T-Bob says, I'd rather be a popcorn popper. But I'd love to play out what would happen if Scott and T-Bob actually did join Venom.
I love the notion of some kid and a robot who they've seen before coming and saying, hey, can we join your terrorist organization? And like, Miles, I don't know what he would do about this, but I was like, I guess. But I think Mask would accidentally murder Scott and T-Bob on one of the missions. Mm-hmm. Or Venom would do the handful of research to know that, oh, this is the son of a billionaire. We should just hold him for ransom.
Yeah, exactly. Venom's not really smart about their plans. Well, popcorn pops out of T-Bob. Everyone laughs, and we cut to the more you know moment. Dusty is teaching Scott how to behave around a horse. And he says that some of them aren't very smart. And Scott says, you mean like T-Bob? So adding another Roy Batty nomination to this episode. And the lesson is that when you walk behind a horse, you need to have your hand on the horse so they know that you're there, because otherwise they might kick you. And that is exactly what happens to T-Bob. Very much like Sly, T-Bob gets kicked and flies through the air and hits the wall of the stable that they're in. And we kind of have another Roy Batty mixed with a Sly Rax nomination here.
Yeah, it's a rare combo, but we get it. I thought this was actually a decent lesson for kids who have not been around horses.
How many opportunities did you have to be around a horse?
Very few. I can only remember one time. And ironically, it involved me running around the ass of the horse. And like, it freaked out the horse trainer because like, oh shit, you should have been touching the horse the entire time.
That's why they needed the lesson. I can't say that I was in the presence of a horse until my 30s. So must be very nice, PJ, to have your own horse growing up.
I didn't.
Well,
I think
I
horse.
understand. No, I understand. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Here's the story: is that my dad left me alone in a hotel, so I wandered out to the hotel stables.
Okay, that does actually sound about right. All right, that's fair. Let's cut to our awards. We got to dive right into the Roy Baddies. This episode, like every scene that T-Bob is in, is another Roy Batty moment. And he does go crazy at the end. Like, we see him throughout the end of the episode driving in scooter mode like crazy, just destroying this hotel.
You're right. It's like every scene with him in it is a new Roy Batty.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so it's like everything's a strong contender. I mean, I could give it to T-Bob at the lesson at the end. I could be convinced, though, like it's like Scott fucking with T-Bob circuits after T-Bob told him not to. And then he goes berserk.
Yeah, I think that's the moment there. Don't do it. And he does it. And T-Bob freaks out, has those like red sparks around him and starts driving around like crazy. I think this is him kind of achieving his first true Roy Batty moment. But there are so many shots of T-Bob in angry mode. And like that one we mentioned before of him hovering over Scott, clearly angry and ready to take out his vengeance upon his creator. We may be crossing the Rubicon here.
We'll have to keep a tight eye on this one.
Father of the Year moment? What do you got?
I mean, it's so trite. It's such a trope at this point in time, but leaving Scott at the hotel alone, and then he proceeds to destroy it. Can Matt not see that Scott just wants some attention?
I agree. It's just cliche now. Every episode, it's going to say it. In fact, Scott even knows it in that line early on in the episode where Matt says, Scott, I want you to, and Scott interrupts him and says, I know, go back to the hotel. So even Scott knows. A desperate cry for help from a sad, lonely child. How about the Sly Rax Ragdoll Award?
Man, another one we have so many possibilities. We got Sly Rax getting kicked by the horse.
Yep.
We got Matt basically, getting blown up, flying through the air, breaking his back twice.
Yeah.
And then Miles, getting blown up, falling into water, nearly drowning, then getting blown up. So at first I was going to tie him, but as I discussed it, I think Miles actually might pull this one ahead.
I think for me it's Matt because he does break his back twice. Yeah, maybe he's not dead, but he's certainly paralyzed.
Let's give it to both of them. I'm game with that. I mean, Matt, you're right. He breaks his back twice. He gets shot at once.
Yeah.
Miles gets shot at twice, once by a laser, and then the second time by a torpedo.
Yeah. Well, R.I.P. Matt and Miles. We will see you next episode. Buddy Hawks Award.
I'm in one camp for this, but I'll momentarily say that I could see Matt and Miles both being contenders given the exchange between Miles and the Emir.
Yeah.
But honestly, given that Matt is supposed to be the good guy, and because a lot of his quote-unquote proof seems to hinge on this person being, in his words, an Arabian, I got to give it to Matt because it's like, we'll never hold up in court, sir. You're just picking it because, let's face it, you're racist.
I agree 100%. That's exactly my vote as well. It's definitely Matt gets the Buddy Hawks Award. What do you think? Is this episode Panda Poo?
So this entire episode, it's Venom getting hired for a smash and grab job by an Arabian for horses that are not that expensive. And so the stakes are actually incredibly low. I kind of felt like Venom might have made off with not $100, but the $1 million that got paid for the steal, even though they didn't get the $4 million. So Dusty's got some badass maneuvers. The episode's forgettable. It's not the worst we've ever seen. It's fine. There's parts that are fun.
Yeah.
So it's barely not Panda Poo for me, but I'm being pretty generous.
Yeah, I'm on the edge too. I think this episode has some of the best animation.
It does.
In the series. It's really sharp. It has great use of the vehicles, mask powers, some real stunts, especially the Matt and Miles ones. But yeah, the stakes are super low. There's the Arabian thing. So I'm kind of on the line, but maybe it just crosses over a little bit into Panda Poo.
I'm game with that. I mean, I'm not going to bat for this episode. I'll say that much. Before we talk about where we're going to next, I do want to point out something interesting, is that we've been in Europe for a while. Like we started off in Switzerland with the finance minister, and then we jetted over to Rome, but then we were in Paris, then we were in the Netherlands, and now we're in Vienna. And we're going to still not be in the US next, right?
Right.
The episode right before this, the last time we saw them in the US, was Deadly Blue Slime. And so my question to you, Adam, is Matt actively trying to avoid authorities by basically going to all of these different countries?
Wait, wasn't Deadly Blue Slime in Africa?
But yeah, but the beginning of the episode, he was in the
that's
US.
right. They were in the U.S. Yeah, so he's on the run from the authorities.
Yeah, so he's not returned back to his home at this point in time.
Yeah, I get it.
Nor will he.
I get it. That's why he needs the secret escape train from his mansion to Boulder Hill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is exactly the type of thing he's doing. Well, okay, let's look at episode 37 coming up next. It's called The Sacred Rock. Buckle up, folks. Venom frightens a tribe of Australian Aborigines who believe their god Mimi is angry with them. When T-Bob makes an appearance, the tribe thinks he is their deity. So I think what's interesting is the last time we were in Australia, Venom enslaved Aborigines, right? And we have the reoccurrence of T-Bob as the mistaken deity of some tribe.
Haven't seen that since the Incan priest.
Here we go again.
It sort of makes you wonder then, like, did Scott research the shape of T-Bob and decided this one was in the shape of so many, like, gods within the Mask universe?
Knowing that his dad would take him on adventures around the world and there'd be opportunities for his robot to be mistaken as a deity.
I don't know, man.
Well, we'll track that one as we go along too. But for now, this podcast has to transform and head back to HQ. I am Adam Moore.
And I am PJ McNerney.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Mobile Armored Podcast Show is written, produced, and edited by Adam Moore and PJ McNerney.